Señoras y señores, tengan mucho cuidado, porque aquí llegan para hablar de lucha libre en esta arena, bandidos del micrófono. Rondan este territorio. Señoras y señores, llega hasta este escenario el coyote rápido, Jay. Y llega acompañado por el voluntario vicioso sin cinturón. Él es Cody. Y llegan para presentar de Rudos Podcast.
Welcome to the Rudos Podcast, Rudo Nation. It has been a few weeks, but we are back. We're here, ready to talk some wrestling. I'm Jay.
Hola, bonjour. Thank you for having me back, Jay, after weeks of traveling all over the world as only a true Rudo can do.
Konbanwa, Scotty. We have our little international introduction. As you said, we have been traveling all over the world. It has been a blast getting to see some wrestling overseas. I got to see both New Japan and Stardom in Tokyo. It was a blast. It was quite an experience. I'm going to have some videos up on the Rudos Podcast YouTube channel detailing my adventures in Japan and showing some of the cool sights that we saw related to wrestling. So check out the Rudos Podcast YouTube channel for that. And did you enjoy your time in Europe? No wrestling though, right?
No wrestling. I was going to say, if you want to see some of my adventures, you can go to Scotty Nobel on Twitter. You won't see any wrestling, but you'll see a few glasses of the bubbly and a man playing a saxophone on a sailboat. So it doesn't get more Rudo than that.
Woodwind instruments are quite Rudo. It's a fact.
Dude, this boat was trucking, and he was standing on there playing smooth jazz.
It
was amazing.
Was it Careless Whisper?
No, he didn't do that. I wished he would have, though. I asked him.
Yeah, man, you should have thrown some more euros in the tip jar to get some Careless Whisper going.
Yeah, man.
But hey, we're not alone here at the Rudos Podcast. We're joined by our other co-host, Ryan.
Hey, I'm the loser who didn't go on vacation.
You're not a loser. You're still wonderful in our hearts. And
I'm the cool guy who didn't go on vacation.
There you go.
Get wrecked.
Yeah,
Fuck.
yeah, guys. It's been almost a month. How does it feel? We got AEW starting. It's the past month
started.
Yeah, I mean the past the past month in wrestling has been insane. You got NWA Power debuting.
Oh, is that how you say it? That
is.
I wondered. I've been saying it wrong.
It's okay. You gotta roll the R. It's required. Power. And then you got AEW. We've got Full Gear being announced. New Japan purchased Stardom through their parent company Bushiroad. I mean, it's nuts. You've had NXT has premiered on television, cable TV.
I mean, literally, I leave America for a few weeks, and the whole landscape of professional wrestling changes. What's even happened?
I know. This year has been crazy, but guys, man, I don't even know where to start. But you know what? Let's start with the pro wrestling event I actually attended in Japan, New Japan King of Pro Wrestling. That was just a few weeks ago. It feels like forever at this point.
Mm-hmm. when was it? It was only like
2 weeks.
not even
Yeah.
like a week and 2 days.
Well, that's what jet lag will get you.
That's true.
Yeah.
You were jet lagged. You were there during the typhoon.
Yeah. La Ruta and I survived the typhoon. We basically just locked ourselves in our hotel room, and I drank Strong Zero and watched the news.
Seems like a good way to pass the time while the storm's blowing over.
Yeah. I've still got a couple cans here actually behind me. I'll have to break them open sometime soon. Maybe on a live stream. Break out some Strong Zero. That shit fucks you up, man. We'll start off Liger Suzuki. It was a huge build going into King of Pro Wrestling. The competitors were talking a huge amount of shit. Liger cut a promo in Korakuen basically saying he apologized to the crowd because he said they were not going to see a wrestling match. They were going to see a live fucking murder. That's one hell of a way to build a fucking event, right?
Mm-hmm.
It definitely sets your expectations very high.
Didn't he actually say specifically you're going to get a... I know he mentioned murder, but wasn't he mentioning a fight? I need to look up the translation for that.
Yeah, it was something like, you're not going to get a wrestling match. You're going to get a fight. You're going to get I'm going to fucking kill him, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my Japanese is not great, so that's a rough translation.
As it turns out, the part we should have been focusing on was the fight part, not the murder part, because I think we were all expecting to see Kishin Liger.
I was.
But we didn't get that. We got Battle Liger for the first time in many years as well. Almost as long as Kishin Liger, maybe a little longer.
Yeah, since that MMA match I think he had in the 2000s, right?
2003 or so, yes.
Yeah, Kishin Liger last made an appearance in 2012 in that match against Taichi and Taka Michinoku. So yeah, this was much longer, and I can tell you, being in the crowd there was an audible gasp when Battle Liger came out. People were pretty stoked about it. They were like me, expecting murder. You know, we were going in there expecting Liger to fucking kill Suzuki, and that didn't happen.
Hey, you got to put over the young and up and coming stars on your way out.
That's true. You got to go out on your back, putting the new guys over.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a very interesting match. I mean, Liger wrestled his more MMA style. There was that really funny moment. Suzuki tries to get Liger into his guard. Liger gets into his guard. They kind of go back and forth. Liger gets on his back. He tries to wave Suzuki in over to his guard. And then Suzuki just mauls the shit out of him. He just fucking grounds and pounds Liger in Liger's guard. And it just kind of showed you, like, Battle Liger was not quite ready for a blood sport style match against Suzuki. I think that was kind of the story they were going for, right?
Yeah, I would say that I think it was a really interesting match where not necessarily halves, but the first part of it was a strong callback to their MMA match together and just MMA in general. And then they moved into more of the harder, just like pro wrestling. I don't know how to describe it, right? Like for me, there were two visible sections of the match, and one was the MMA stuff and one was the not MMA stuff. And that was how it ended.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was more like it got more into a traditional wrestling match. I mean, they did a lot of brawling to the outside, but they had a number of exchanges where they just straight up strong style, sitting in front of each other and just pounding the living shit out of each other. Yeah,
because they had that spot, right, where they were sitting with each other and just...
Yeah.
Yeah, so it felt like basically they were condensing their history together into a single match in a lot of ways.
Yes.
And I think that's why I'm okay if this is their last match ever together.
Which it looks like it's going to be.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, there's been no real setup for Liger Suzuki again. So.
Yeah.
And then you had that post-match where Suzuki just outright like bowing to Liger, giving that last show of respect.
Yeah, the crowd loved it, and it was a very cool moment. I mean, people were really shocked when Suzuki won the match. I think that definitely took them by surprise, but they really kind of got back into it when Suzuki bowed to Liger. The crowd was definitely expecting Liger to win that match. I was expecting Liger to win that match. The other folks who were sitting in our box, they were also Westerners. They were expecting Liger to win that match, and when Suzuki won it, I think it was a bit of a shock to the crowd. It was at least my interpretation of it being there live.
Yeah, I can tell you, like sitting at home, just watching that go on live, definitely got a little misty-eyed there at the end.
Yeah, it's definitely the end of a major part of Liger's career, that rivalry with Suzuki, and a kind of nice segue for him into his retirement, right? Like into that final retirement match. And I mean, really
final matches, really.
Yeah. The true, I know this whole year has kind of been Liger's farewell tour, but it's really the next few months that are truly his farewell tour as it leads up to his final matches on both nights of Wrestle Kingdom.
They did a press conference the next day, which we thought was going to be the big news that ended up happening later in the week.
Yep.
That was an interesting a few days.
So it's Liger, Tatsumi Fujinami, the Great Sasuke, and Tiger Mask versus Naoki Sano, Shinjiro Otani, Tatsuhiro Taikawa, and Ryusuke Taguchi. Here's the old men all in a match together.
Well, Shinjiro Otani is not even actually that old. He just looks really old.
Yeah, isn't he in his 40s?
Yeah, he's only in his 40s.
47.
47.
I mean,
come
only.
on. Come on.
I mean, where's Muda, dude? Where the fuck is Muda? They gotta get Muda in that match. How could you not have an old man tag, bring in the legends that have, something to do with Liger's career and not have Muda in there?
What the fuck is Muda doing, anyways?
I think he's doing a Noah show.
I haven't seen him.
He's doing the Noah. Oh, that's right. He's going to be.
Yeah, he's
fighting Marafugi.
Yeah.
11th.
Oh, Marafugi. Marafugi. I like that.
I know he's also about to show up at Starcast 4.
Ah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, they
apparently part of the reason why that press conference was being so hyped is because Tatsumi Fujinami was there for the first time since 2008.
Can you guess who the oldest man in the match is?
Tatsumi Fujinami.
Correct. Can you guess how old he is?
68.
You're a little over.
A little over.
65.
65.
Jesus.
Okay. Yep, he's at retirement age right about now.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed they didn't get Muda for that match. I would have liked to see
Ricky
Muda.
Choshu, that's who I was thinking of. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, Ricky Choshu. Yeah, who finally actually retired just this year.
Yeah.
Continuing on the King of Pro Wrestling vein, I just want to throw a few funny anecdotes out there. So I was absolutely shocked at the amount of merch they were moving at the event. It was insane. La Ruda was definitely a bit taken aback by the relative chaos of the merch tables. Very, very different from the much more orderly queues of Japanese society. It was a pretty chaotic little scene there at the merch tables. But man, people were buying up tons of merch. I would have to guess that the merchandise was probably 80% Los Ingobernables, and I did see
not too surprising.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot though. I mean, it was. I would say 8, maybe even 9 out of every 10 people had LIJ merch. It was quite a significant amount.
See, y'all buying this merch is why Tetsuya Naito can't win a damn match.
Hey, I got the the Dia de los Muertos Los Ingobernables shirt, which was pretty cool with all the skulls, the sugar skulls, and everything of the different characters. So, I'm contributing to Naito not being able to win a fucking title, the world title.
You bastard.
Hey, I'm putting money in Naito's pocket. All right, I'm sure he's getting a cut. The whole crew's getting a cut. I'm just throwing him a little something, man. And
it's all going to Desperado.
oh yeah, Despy, old Despy. And I would like to say that I saw a pretty good amount of Despy Hecho in Mexico gear. I was pretty surprised by that.
I'm not sure it's actually that surprising, since this is like his big return match here.
He got some good
So
pops.
Mm-hmm.
Good reactions.
Desperado fan club was out in full force.
Yeah, they were rocking the Hecho in Mexico gear. I was kind of confused. I was like, what is that? Whose gear is that? And then I saw it at the merch table. I should have fucking got one. There's a lot of merch I regret not getting. It was actually comparable, well, a little more expensive than your average US merch. It was $30 about for a shirt, 3,000 yen. So just under $30 for a shirt. But I must say the t-shirts they sell at New Japan are far higher quality than the t-shirts they sell at the Bad Three Letter Company. Those t-shirts are absolute fucking garbage. I would rather wear a burlap fucking sack than the garbage t-shirts they sell at the Bad Three Letter Company events. Does anyone own a t-shirt from them and can attest to the quality of the material?
I only buy good wrestling t-shirts. Sorry.
Wow.
I have one. It's a New Day shirt, and actually you were there with me, Jay. I got it because we were at the APW show, and Tonga Kid was there signing autographs because Jacob Fatu was wrestling. And if you bought one of Tonga Kid's photos that he had autographed for you, he would just give you 2 free shirts that were WWE shirts. And he was like, here's 2 free shirts. So I took one and I gave one to the Northern Belle. And yeah, that's how I got a WWE shirt that I never wear because it is not very nice.
No, the quality is terrible. The New Japan t-shirt quality is actually really good. I'm going to try to find the label, go back and look at the label and try to find the t-shirt maker and just buy some blank t-shirts because they're really nice. They're like the fashion t-shirt here, like quality. It's very surprising.
How do they compare to the stuff we can get from 1 Hour Tees? Much better?
Well, I can't badmouth our good friends at Pro Wrestling Tees because they do have the Rudo's podcast official merchandise page, prowrestlingtees.com/Rudo's podcast. So I'm not going to do a comparison against the 1 Hour Tees.
Very understandable.
You know what? I'll do a comparison and I'll tell you that at least the shirts they make for the Rudo's podcast are top flight. They are some of the best t-shirts you can put on your back.
I get the One Level Up t-shirt. I don't buy the standard one.
Yeah, I've been finding those like One Level Up ones are pretty solid, honestly.
Yeah, they I would say those are the way to go. Just pay the extra few bucks when you go to get your sweet Rudo's merch at prowrestlingtees.com/Rudo's podcast and go up to the second level and get the nicer shirt. They're probably going to last a little bit longer.
Your torso deserves it.
Yeah. Treat your chest and your back well. Cloak it in that silky smooth, soft, premium t-shirt cotton with your sweet Rudo's merch at prowrestlingtees.com/Rudo's podcast. Do you guys think I plugged that enough? Plugged the merch enough?
I think that sounded
Keep
like
going.
a pro job.
The best.
Oh man.
The best.
So one of the other fun moments from King of Pro Wrestling, we'll go back to there. The Ospreay Phantasmo match. La Ruda's favorite match of the night, my favorite match of the night. What did you think, Steve?
El Phantasmo is a BC native, and that match fucking ruled. And everybody who complains about the last 5 minutes can suck it.
Wow, Steve just went real rudo defending his fellow British Columbian El Phantasmo.
I can't believe you just told me to suck it, Steve. God damn.
Were you complaining about the last 5 minutes? I was losing my shit. Everybody in the fucking arena was losing their shit. They loved it. And
okay, it's not the last 5 minutes of the match. That's not the part I actually have a problem with. But this match was very long, about 25 minutes.
it didn't feel that long being there. I can tell you, the feeling in the arena, it didn't feel like a 25-minute match. It felt like a 15 or 20-minute match. I was also a few strong zeros deep at that point.
Yeah, whereas I was...
That makes any match better.
In my basement, like, the various caffeines of choice were starting to wear off. And that match was kind of dragging a little bit before they really turned it on during the last few minutes. I'm not going to lie. And the beginning stuff was... I think it's going to depend a lot on how much you enjoy El Phantasmo's character. That scumbag heel of his.
I fucking love El Phantasmo. I really do. I'm in the boat with Steve. I'm in Steve's boat.
I'm just gonna have to differ with you guys. I'm not a huge fan of El Phantasmo's character. I'm actually fine with it in the little comedy 6-8 mans, whatever you have it, but there was still a little too much shtick for me at 4:30 in the morning or whatever it was. For me to really dig in.
Yeah, there was definitely a little shtick. I must say though, I was very close to them when they were doing the fight over the entranceway, and that was pretty.
That was a
fucking
pretty
crazy.
cool fight.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
You can see, I actually tweeted the video from it, or at Rudo's Podcast on Twitter, and also I put it on Instagram, the Rudo's Podcast Instagram, at Rudo's Podcast. Check it out. I posted the video in its entirety, and I'll probably post another clip this week as like a little throwback, specifically when Phantasmo jumps off the fucking top of the ramp there, the entranceway. That was pretty high.
That was pretty high. And he had a better landing than Juice did when he did the jump back in May. No, it was June.
Yeah.
Speaking of Juice was going to face Moxley, but that typhoon screwed everything up, and Mox didn't make it. I think it's Zack Sabre Jr., but Mox is the more important one here because he had the U.S. title. So, per New Japan rules, it got vacated. And so we have Lance Archer versus Juice Robinson for the IWGP US title. So, Jay, what was the feeling in the room at the time for this match?
The people liked the match when Archer got on the mic and said he was bringing, what was it, the Murder Hawk Mansion, that there was going to be a no DQ match. The crowd popped. They wanted a no DQ match, and Archer gave the people what they wanted. It was a pretty good match. I felt like the crowd was decently into it live. Would I have liked to have seen Moxley Juice instead? Yeah. But given the circumstances and the fact that, I mean, let's face it, like the typhoon was one of the worst in Japanese history. It was very powerful. And it canceled a number of flights. I know somebody who was flying out of the country and had to have their flight changed, and the only flight they were able to get on the reschedule was one that had like 2 stops. It was basically like a 48-hour flight to get back to the west coast of the United States. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, that people, may complain about Moxley or anything not showing up, but I can tell you that like the flight situation was completely 100% fucked. Enough about flights. It was a good match, and by the way, I picked up a signed Lance Archer EBD Claw shirt from that
Oh,
night,
nice.
the night he won the U.S. title, and we're going to put that on the line for the next Rudo's podcast contest.
Whoa. No way.
Ooh.
That is right. That is right. We will have a signed Lance Archer EBD Claw t-shirt online for the next Rudo's podcast contest. So stay tuned. We'll see who's going to get that one.
Oh, fuck.
You got to frame
Another
that one,
thing
man.
to add to my collection. Yeah. Watching at home, it was a pretty good match. Not a great one until those last couple minutes, right when Juice and Archer just started hucking chairs right into the ring. From that point, the match just hit an entirely new level.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
choke slam onto the chairs, the stack of chairs, was brutal. Brutal. Everybody in the crowd just kind of winced at that. Man, that looked gnarly.
Honestly, what finally put it over for me was just that very ending part where Juice kicked out of the blackout and Archer just started slamming Juice's head right into those chairs before applying the claw. Just mwah.
Brutality. It was a great ending.
Brutal, yes.
The crowd popped for Archer winning too. And you know, we know the Japanese crowds love Juice. They just absolutely love Juice, but they popped pretty well for Archer.
Dude, Archer, ever since this past G1, man, he's just been crushing it, right? And here's just another instance. I don't know what got into him. Maybe it's the fact that he's really freshened up his Murder Hawk, but man, he's got it going on.
He does.
Yeah, just firing on all cylinders. Like, he wasn't even going like full sprint 100% during that Warrior Wrestling match I saw on All Out Weekend against Alex Zane, but even the stuff he was doing just looks like it just had that intensity around it. That's what really makes it, just that intensity.
He's an intense looking dude. When you get up close to him, man, Archer is a big dude and he is very intense looking.
Mm-hmm.
The main event, Okada Sonata, man, I gotta say, being there live, I thought it dragged a bit. I thought the skull end sequences were just not really doing it for me. La Ruda was not happy. She started to get bored at that point. And
yeah, this was definitely the match where the frequent use of the skull ends were starting to get on the nerves, especially because it's apparently not even supposed to be a dragon suplex. It actually is supposed to just be that head vice thing.
Oh yeah, not a full-on dragon sleeper with the arm over the throat.
Dragon sleeper, yes. I'm sorry.
Steve, what did you think about the main event?
I agree with you. It's whether or not the actual match quality was this, it was the least interested I have been in one of their matches all year. I think this match was something a lot of people saw coming in terms of people being a little tired of it. And it's a big part of the reason a lot of people predicted them going to a draw in the G1. That's because they're like, well, doing this match a fourth time this year is a little much. I don't think they'd do it. So they should probably do a draw. But no, Sonata won, and it elevated the G1 match a lot. But it just left that thing hanging of, oh, we have to do this match now too. And fourth time is not the charm.
No, I must say, being there live, I thought the match went a bit too long. I was a little bit disappointed in it. I was hoping for a better main. I thought they'd at least get my boy Sonata a little closer to winning the title.
I'll say this much though. like at that point, I literally had gotten up from my seat and gone back to bed. I was watching it on my tablet. And I was just, but every time I would just like start drifting off into sleep, they would do something that would get me back into it. And then I would start nodding off, go back into it, nod off. Sonata's hair looks like a beehive. What the fuck? I get back into it, etc., 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 right up until that last couple of minutes, that final closing stretch.
Yeah. The Okada driver, the debut of the Okada driver caught a lot of people by surprise. Caught me by surprise. I popped for the Okada driver.
Yeah, that was sick. It was like a weird. It was partially because of the just because of how it was being used as a counter there, but it definitely looked like a weird combination of a Michinoku driver and a Fire driver, and it just looked awesome seeing like Okada do like a proper sit down pile driver.
Yeah, Okada busted it out. He really threw a cool new twist in there with it, especially because he was just kind of setting it up for another tombstone. You're like, oh, okay, great. He's going to go for another tombstone. Nope. Sits out with the pile driver. Fucking spikes Sonata on the top of his head. So overall, I mean, it wasn't a bad main event by any means, but I would have to say it's disappointing for a New Japan main event. Granted, this is kind of like a B-C level show, King of Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, pretty firmly B level.
But I was hoping for something a little bit more.
I will say I did like the post-match a whole lot. Sonata just finally like breaking down and showing some emotion over the loss.
Yeah. Yeah, now he's going to go back to making thirst trap posts on Instagram for the people out there that follow Sonata. And setting up the main event of Wrestle Kingdom with Ibushi and Okada, opening the door ever so slightly for the possibility that we may get Naito versus Okada to main event night 2, title versus title. The door is ever so slightly ajar, and you could see just a little bit of light through it. Let's do a quick roundtable. Steve, what do you think are the chances we get Okada versus Naito night 2 of Wrestle Kingdom, title versus title?
I actually think it's pretty likely that we're going to see. I think it's basically 100% certain in my mind that we're going to see a title match on both nights. I also think it's pretty likely that Okada is going to beat Ibushi, and would be pretty surprised if Naito did not beat Jay White. So basically, I think it's pretty likely, but not necessarily from the direction of start to finish. Like if you just went from the start where we are right now straight to what Wrestle Kingdom is going to look like, it would sound kind of weird. But I think if you just sort of put the pieces in place, it sounds pretty reasonable.
Yeah. I think what's really gonna be the true test is what happens at Power Struggle, right? That's going to set everything up for Wrestle Kingdom.
That, and can Kota Ibushi and Tetsuya Naito have a Wrestle Kingdom match? Well, I guess just Naito, but can he have a Wrestle Kingdom match where he survives to do another match the next night?
Yeah,
you
that's
already
true.
know the answer to this.
I mean, Naito would go out there with a broken freaking neck. I mean, Naito is going to show up to night 2 at the fucking Dome. There's no way he's not going to show up. No, I mean, you'd have the guy, they'd roll him down the fucking ramp in a wheelchair. Naito, for a main event like that in the Dome, Naito's going, and he's going to go hard both nights. You know he's going to go hard. On the bright side, you just got to hope that he doesn't face Ibushi in night 2, because then neither of them may leave that ring alive.
Fair point. Very fair point.
Those guys.
There's a non-zero chance of this being the night 2 main event, you know.
I know. I know. So Ryan, there you go. Question to you. What do you think? What do you think? What's your prediction for the night 2 main event of Wrestle Kingdom?
It has a non-zero chance of happening. I still feel like it's gotta be Naito versus Okada, just for that finality that people are looking for. Because let's be honest, Naito is pretty banged up right now. Like this is definitely a time to coordinate him if you are going to do that.
Yeah, I would.
And
you do raise an excellent
he's
point. You raise. I
he's
like
not going to get another chance.
Yeah, I like your point about Naito being banged up because, like you said, Naito really since he's turned on the Los Ingobernables persona, he's done a lot more riskier stuff in matches, and you can kind of see him he's lost half a step. I think it's a fair assessment to say he's lost half a step. So if you're going to put the title on him, there's no better time than now, and especially given how popular he is and how much people want to see him win.
So yeah, this would be the time.
Do you think he's lost that half step?
I think he can still turn it on when he needs to. But I mean, you just look at him during the tag matches, and it's pretty bad. What were your opinions on his performance at King of Pro Wrestling?
I
if
mean,
you can remember that match.
He was just working Mexican Rudo style, so pretty light. I mean that is the kind of the nice thing about LIJ is that they can work that lucha Rudo style and preserve their bodies a bit, because let's face it, the lucha Rudo spots are just a bunch of brawling and some fun little spots, and it's pretty easy on the body. They're not doing anything crazy. So I mean, can you blame Naito for trying to save his bumps at this point?
Oh, absolutely not. He is what. Yes, like save that body. It would probably help if you actually took a tour off, Naito. But if you're going to keep doing the tour, just tranquilo.
Tranquilo, amigo. So, Scotty, what is your prediction for the Night 2 main event of Wrestle Kingdom?
So just so I have this straight, Kota Ibushi should be facing Okada in the main event, right?
Night 1. That's night 1.
G1. Oh, that's night 1.
That's night 1.
Okay.
So,
and then is Naito going to wrestle somebody else on night 1?
What we think may happen is that it may be Naito versus Jay White for the Intercontinental title on night 1, and then night 2 would be title versus title. That's what people are saying is the scenario right now. That is open with the 2-night format for the Wrestle Kingdom this year.
Okay. I mean, I guess it makes sense that you would set up Okada and Naito. I think it would be great. Man, it just seems it seems really tough, but I trust Gato, right? He never seems to let us down. And so I'm just gonna wait and see. I don't know if I really have a pick on this one.
All right. I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna go bold. I'm gonna say Naito, Okada, night 2, and Naito wins the belt and blows the fucking roof off the Tokyo Dome. I'm saying it. I'm going right now. I'm throwing it in there. Anybody else agree?
So won't we feel silly when it's Ibushi versus White night 2?
Oh man. Oh man.
The G1 Finals rematch. Everyone's been clamoring for.
That wraps up King of Pro Wrestling. We'll keep an eye on what happens going forward. Maybe we see the return of Hiromu to face Liger in his second night retirement match. Maybe we see Naito versus Okada, night 2, title versus title. There are a lot of interesting possibilities open right now for both nights of Wrestle Kingdom And there may still be a surprise yet with the Junior Tag League and the Heavyweight Tag Leagues. So we'll see what happens. We'll follow it closely. Stay tuned, Rudo Nation, as we'll be talking about New Japan more and more as they build up to the historic two-night event at the Tokyo Dome, January 4th and January 5th. Let's switch gears a little bit. I know we've been talking really deep into the wrestling, really deep into New Japan. I want to switch gears for a moment. I want to take a look at one of our special segments here, one of our most important awards that we hand out. We hand out a couple of awards every week, and this is one of my favorite awards. I know, Steve, it's your favorite award. It's the Such Good Shit Award.
It's such good shit.
I think it's fair to call it my least favorite award. Yeah, it's been a month, and it's been an eventful month. So I just kind of want to keep things simple on this episode and just say that, you know, as much as being a world champion is really prestigious and valuable and career defining, this last month wasn't really the greatest for world champions in a certain company. Both of them, in fact, were in a little bit of duress. Whether your match is ending in 7 seconds or by disqualification, you know, there was not a whole lot good to see.
Sorry, it was a referee stoppage, by the way. It was not disqualification.
I thought it was disqualification, but sure.
Referee stoppage.
Let's blame the referees again. When the crowd's upset, it's the referee's fault. And then, sorry, so the best part about that, my favorite part, and part of what pushes it over the edge for me, is the very next night of television, he comes out and he says, "Oh, I thought I finished things last night." when the end of the show was his opponent getting up and attacking him and laying him out before the whole thing went off the air. It's like, "Oh, I thought I finished it."
I like how you add the Vince voice to that.
I just can't even with that certain person's promos and everything.
Twitter
right
behavior.
Now. Yeah, his Twitter behavior.
Imagine being worse at Twitter than Will Ospreay.
Oh my God, I don't know. I think Will Ospreay's Twitter is all right.
He's gotten better in the past year.
Yeah, he's
like
improved greatly.
When we went and saw Raw before we went to on our European vacation, you know, every time he got in the ring and spoke, I was just like, God, could he be more boring? And then even to say something so nonsensical like, "Well, I guess I thought we finished that." Oh, it just kills me that they're killing the town with me right here.
Wow, and you are an ardent supporter, an ardent watcher, I should say, not supporter, but you do watch a lot of the Three-Letter Company, Scotty, right?
I watch a lot of guilty pleasure TV.
And for that to turn you off and to have that kind of reaction, that goes to show you how much this fucking angle is such good shit, guys.
It's such good shit.
Sorry, before we completely trash everything, I would like to get one thing in. Tonight's episode of NXT was actually really good, and if you don't have to give this horrible, terrible, awful company that gives its money to really horrible people any money, if you don't have to give them any money and you can watch the NXT show, I'd maybe try.
Legally.
I mean, I've heard all the NXT shows.
Don't break the law. Don't break the law.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly, they have been pretty solid so far.
Yeah, allegedly they've been decent, but hey, we don't talk about the Three-Letter Company here. Although, actually, I take that back. I do want to talk a little bit about the Three-Letter Company because Steve, I'm a little surprised you didn't go with the ongoing. Oh my God, I can't even say this with a straight face. The ongoing Rusev, Lana, Bobby Lashley cuckolding angle. It's such good shit. I mean, now this is the second cuckolding angle in as many months, right? We had the Mike and Maria Kanellis cuckolding angle.
Yeah, and then Mike signed a new contract, so he didn't need to be on TV anymore.
And he's disappeared. Along with...
I mean, to be fair, he only started showing up after he signed that contract. Then he disappeared.
After being in a short cuckolding angle that never really had a conclusion, right?
I'm only basing this on the Meltzer reviews I've listened to, because I listened to Wrestling Observer Live, but I believe the last we heard of that was Maria claimed that she had the father, and that the father was coming down to fight Mike in the ring right there. And Rusev, who squashed Mike.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't actually the father, incidentally, from what I understand.
Wait, Rusev
That
was
is the
not
last
the father?
I have heard of this angle.
Okay. So now, this is, again, need I remind you, this is the second cuckolding angle Rusev and Lana have been involved in, right? We had the Dolph Ziggler cuckolding angle a few years ago, which was coincidentally ended when Rusev and Lana announced their marriage, real life engagement, I should say. And now we've got an even more I mean, let's just face it. It's like more graphic, more disgusting, right? I mean, oh man.
I wouldn't know. I ain't watching.
Can you imagine being the fucking writer? You're there, you're in the writer's room, you work for the bad three-letter company, you probably hate your fucking life, and you've got this insane 70-something-year-old man, 72-year-old man screaming at you to write more cuckolding angles. It's such good shit.
It's such good shit.
I'm pretty sure the cuckolding angle is the Paul Heyman idea.
Really?
Go back and look at your ECW.
Yeah, he loves Paul Heyman loves the like love triangles, and like you look at Raven and Tommy Dreamer and all that. Yeah, he's a big fan.
That is true. That is an excellent point that you bring up.
Mm-hmm.
So that
we can still blame Vince because he's signing off on this.
Oh yeah.
But it's not entirely his fault this time.
That we know of. Well, we'll give. How about this? We'll give crazy old Vince a little benefit of the doubt, and we'll split the blame 50-50 on that one. So, yeah, that wraps up our Such Good Shit award. There's been a lot of good shit that's gone on. I mean, it's hard to. We could do an entire episode of good shit, right?
Throw in the SmackDown going on Fox, and pretty much, yeah, we could just spend a whole episode dunking on the big Trump fundraiser.
We could. So let's talk a little bit about them, though, but tangentially, right?
That's right, because we have a war going on right now. Sort of.
We have a war in the wrestling world. The first real competition to WWE in 20 years debuted just a month ago. Just this month.
Yeah. War, huh? What is it good for?
NWA Power!
The war between NWA Power and AEW rages on Tuesday nights.
NWA
Power and AEW Dark.
The real war.
I think we'll get to those in a minute, though.
The real battle. NWA Power.
It is a much more competitive battle on Tuesday nights. Let's be fair.
That is true. So
we even have a third wheel with Impact airing on that night, but Nobody remembers Impact, so who cares?
No.
It'll just come back and end up cuckolding NXT.
We'll have to see how they work a cuckolding
funny.
angle with that. Maybe a cross promotional cuckolding angle.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, not usually WWE style to do a cross-promotional angle, but desperate times call for desperate measures, I guess.
Well, if John Morrison is going one place and Taya's staying in the other,
You never know. You never know. So, the wars, we've seen the competition. Let's talk about AEW, guys. I mean, we've had a few weeks of television now to kind of get an idea of
Full month, yeah.
Yeah, to get an idea of what the product looks like, to see how their build to Full Gear is going. So, I'm gonna go we're gonna go around the table here and get one big impression that each of our hosts have for AEW's first month of television. So I'm going to go to you, Scotty. What's your one impression, your one takeaway from the first month of TV so far?
I want to say I think they've done an excellent job. And the one big question I had based on the three special shows they had was that it didn't feel like the characters, like the stories were developed enough, and it was sometimes really hard to get a sense of who was the face and the heel and some of the psychology. It was just a collection of matches, and they have been really, really good at establishing a lot of stuff in 4 short weeks. Like I have been very impressed. I have found these shows to be so entertaining, on top of the good wrestling, and there's not a lot of stupid 3-letter company BS. Nobody's just coming out there doing a 15-minute soliloquy. I like how they've done some of their like interview segments where like it feels more like a real sport, and nobody's saying incredibly dumb shit like Seth Rollins.
No cuckolding angles. No cuckolding.
And none of that. Yeah, because you know what? You don't really need those to make quality wrestling matches. It's kind of amazing. Also, I will say I appreciate that they have their records when they walk down to the ring, and that JR is not giving up on selling the how much wins and losses really matter. And it's a little thing. I appreciate it.
That's great. So, Steve, what has been your takeaway from the first month of AEW's television?
So the one thing that stood out to me is, and they're not batting 100%, but I think they've done a pretty good job getting unfamiliar people over with crowds. So I think they've just been doing a really great job getting over, and I say great and not perfect, but for the most part, they've been successful getting people over that crowds were not initially familiar with. The most obvious success story so far has been Darby Allin, who is a Pacific Northwest wrestler. So I've seen him a few times, and it's probably the first time in my life where I've been familiar with someone. I get to play the hipster role where I knew him before he was on that big of a stage, and was a fan of his before he was on that stage. I think Marco Stunt sort of falls into that. That's been more of a recent thing. Riho, I think, has gotten over pretty big. Private Party's gotten over huge, and they've been pushing Private Party really hard as well. Orange Cassidy just kind of has the charisma and gets over on his own. And it's very interesting, I think, that it's generally the smaller people that have been getting the most over, because they've been kind of missing on Dark Order, and I think they've been kind of missing on Britt Baker. But aside from that, I think they've been hitting pretty well.
Yeah, that's a great point that you raise, because a lot of the wrestlers that they've signed are not household names, right? They're not huge names in the wrestling business. A lot of people, unless you're an avid watcher, are not going to know the names like Darby Allin, Marco Stunt, and Orange Cassidy. And for them to bring them in essentially cold and have them get really good crowd reactions is very impressive, like you said.
And they're doing the smart thing of putting them against the talent that people are familiar with, right? Like Darby got over because he did the time limit draw with Cody, right? Private Party is getting over because they're doing great matches with people like the Young Bucks. They're doing it properly in a lot of ways like that.
Yeah,
I think it's really says a lot too that how the amount of focus and care that AEW is taking with this, that they're doing it with some of their big names, right? Like the Bucks taking one on the chin from Private Party. That was big, and it really made Private Party look super legit. I wish the one dude would ditch the tails on his jacket.
No,
Hard disagree.
Wow.
Hard disagree.
Wow.
The tails, no. The vest, that's fine. The tails, no, thank you.
Dude, the tails look great when he goes flying. You gotta have the tails.
yeah, like
It's such a
When-
unique look.
when Mark Quinn does that shooting star press, just that with those tails just flapping, and just like, and the fact that it's just a pitch, a perfect shooting star press every time he's done it so far.
It's kind of interesting. He almost like hangs in the air. Like he like kind of, I can't even, it's like when you see a great leaper in basketball where they can kind of like jump and just sort of they jump so high that they float when they dunk the ball. And that's what I think of when I see Mark Quinn hit that shooting star press, is he floats in the air, and it seems like he almost kind of hangs there. It's I've never seen a shooting star press like that. It's so unique, and it looks amazing. And the coattails are just the cherry on the top of the sundae.
Agree to disagree. His shooting star press is amazing. I don't need the coattails.
All right, so we're gonna Scotty, we're not gonna bury you over that.
No more fashion talk.
So my big impression of AEW's first month of TV has been Kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. And they've kept it simple. They're not doing some crazy convoluted angles, all kinds of these run-ins, and like trying to be something other than a wrestling show, right? They have kept it pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You put on good matches. You put your talent in a position to succeed. You give them the opportunity and have them put them out there, and they go and do it. I mean, it's so funny how simple AEW makes it look. Like going back to Steve's point of getting these new people over, right? the bad three-letter company, I almost said it, the bad three-letter company has not been able to do that. Why? Because they've gotten away from the relatively simplistic model of getting people over. They come in with their own gimmicks. They're not going out there like making drastic changes to people's gimmicks. They're bringing them in. They're using their existing gimmick. They are gearing the promos and the video packages to hype them up. And then they put them in matches with established talent, like Steve said, and use that to get them over. And it works. And it's so simple. It's so easy. And yet all of these other wrestling companies in the past have just totally gone away from that, and they try to like outsmart themselves and outthink themselves when really the whole formula for it is pretty basic, right? And that's what AEW has done over this past month. They've really stuck to the basic wrestling formula of getting people over, and it's worked. And it's just so funny that they make it look easy because it is, right?
Yeah, can't agree more.
So Ryan, what is your takeaway from the first month of AEW television?
Really, the biggest takeaway to me is that I'm watching wrestling on cable TV, and it's not wasting my time. It does not feel like I'm wasting my time at all. Like, you get in there, first 3 weeks it was broadcast team just breaking down the night. This week we had a cold open, just straight into Lucha Brothers versus Private Party. Like, but first 3 weeks they did the opening. They broke down the card. And then we got to the match. No 20-minute promo to cut. It was just bam, 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 bam. All action.
Right?
You could say sometimes.
It's so easy. It's such a simple formula.
You could almost say the focus on that. You could nitpick and say there is a little bit of a detriment to the focus on action. Like, if you've noticed, none of the actual promo segments have gone off uninterrupted. There's always some sort of schmaz going on by the end of it. But that's just a tiny nitpick. Like, almost everything outside of the silly Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith appearance during the first episode. Like, that was the only one that was like, okay, sure, let's get it on with. Like, everything else has just been like smooth sailing.
Yeah.
And it's been great.
That's a great point. They've really just kind of identified that formula and stuck with it. Now I
don't feel exhausted after watching it.
2 hours goes by so fast where it's not
especially
like,
with the picture-in-picture, yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely been some things to criticize about it, but I do really like the picture-in-picture during commercials. Like, it does help keep me a bit invested when it's going on. And almost all the time when it actually goes to a commercial break, I feel a little disappointed because I just want to keep watching.
And I must say, I have been very impressed with the commentary team. I think that's another big victory that they've had over the first month is how quickly Tony Schiavone, Excalibur, and Jim Ross have gelled. They genuinely have chemistry that they seem to be developing. And they seem
pretty much right from the first episode, right from the first moments of the first episode. Yeah, they just
they clicked.
Yeah,
so good. Tony Schiavone's owning it, right?
It is so great to hear Tony Schiavone excited to call wrestling again.
Yeah, it's a great nostalgia pop for all of us who watch wrestling in the 90s. And I must say, they sound like they're having fun.
Yeah. This Tony Schiavone is a far cry from the Tony Schiavone I grew up with, which was 1999 era Tony Schiavone.
Oh yeah, when
so
he by his own admission, he was checked out, right?
Yeah. But here he's revitalized, energized, just bouncing off the other two pretty easily.
We're getting vintage Tony Schiavone. We're talking like Mid-South Championship Wrestling or Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. We're talking about Greensboro Coliseum and the Omni and the Four Horsemen, Tony Schiavone. It has been fantastic.
Yeah, it's like the 96, 97 Tony Schiavone, but with better commentators to back him up than fucking Larry Legend and
Oh yeah. I mean, he had Tenay. That was probably his best supporting.
Yeah, Tenay was good when he was on, but that wasn't all the time.
No. And I mean, Dusty on commentary.
I mean, Dusty could be entertaining at least, but
You're not, if you're looking for a guy to support you on commentary to kind of, Dusty was not that commentator.
nah, not really. It's definitely good to see this commentary team gel, especially since they had the growing pains at first with Marvez in there as a third wheel, and who was just not clicking at all. And Golden Boy was in there for the other two shows, and he was pretty good. But this broadcast team is just excellent.
They're fun to listen to. I mean, they are actually enjoyable to listen to.
AEW is getting their money's worth on these guys.
Oh yeah. I loved Excalibur when he did the PWG commentary. I was honestly very skeptical of JR, especially considering how poorly his New Japan commentary could be in certain stretches. But I think taking JR away from the booth with Barnett, moving him in with Excalibur, and bringing in Shivani, it's really freshened up the dynamic a bit, and it's really made for a great team. And I mean, let's say right now, is this the best commentary team in wrestling? I say yes. Anybody say no?
I'm going to say yes, although I do like Kevin Kelly and crew for New Japan.
Yeah, that's where I'm hesitating here right now. If you're talking like U.S. television, yeah, no question, this is the best team. But Kevin Kelly and Rocky Romero definitely have and Chris Charlton, of course, but he's
I was gonna say you got to throw Charlton
third wheel
in there.
but
yeah,
when they're on, they are on.
So Steve, what do you think about the commentary team for AEW?
That's fine. Small things, I guess. I didn't really like Taz on the Dark episode, and I think I'm kind of the only one, but a lot of people seem to be into Taz's work from this week. I'm not the hugest fan, but whatever. And I did really like Golden Boy, and was kind of hoping that he was actually signed to a contract.
I mean, he is actually.
Yeah, but he just hasn't shown up, right? Yeah, that's what I mean. He hasn't. We don't know what the state of that is, and he hasn't been there. So I want to see what he's doing, and I'd like him to do stuff all time. I have no nostalgic association with Tony Schiavone, so in my view, he's fine. He and JR are working pretty well together. I feel like Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone are working well together. Jim Ross and Excalibur are working well together. And I don't really know what the Excalibur-Tony Schiavone dynamic really is. Aside from Schiavone getting really excited every time Excalibur tells him what a move is called, which is kind of fun. But
he got really excited over Excalibur's use of laconic and sloth-like as adjectives
that stood out.
To describe Orange Cassidy's demeanor.
He was also very, very happy about, and I think this was the first episode of Dynamite, he was happy that the move was called the Vader Bomb.
That was the second episode, but yeah, he was just so chuffed just to hear that.
Yeah. So I think overall, AEW is doing well. I am interested in seeing how they build up over the next week, 2 weeks, to Full Gear on November 9th. The matches so far look pretty good. Cody Jericho, Omega Mox, Bucks LAX, Hangman Pac. I imagine that we'll get a tag team title defense.
Will we? We did get the two defenses last week with relatively little build, but still, that's
I imagine that next week's tag tournament final will probably set something up for the following.
Sorry, so we're discussing Full Gear, right?
Yeah.
So the announced matches are Moxley versus Kenny, Cody versus Jericho, and LAX versus the Young Bucks, I believe.
Hangman versus Pac.
Hangman versus Pac was official?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, they announced that. It's a little weird. TV went out for TNT, but the Fight TV stream kept going.
Okay.
Hangman ended up running Pac off and issued the challenge there.
All right. Sure.
I'm not totally convinced we're going to get a tag team title match on this card. I do think we're going to see them action, but
yeah. So my guess is that the winner of LAX and Young Bucks are going to be the first actual feud for them.
Yeah.
Which is why I think the Lucha Brothers are winning next week, because that just it makes more sense that that whole feud is together.
I know it does open up a few possibilities if the Lucha Brothers win. Looking at who else is out there, maybe Dark Order does a run-in or something. You got Best Friends. There's a number of really good tag teams out there. I mean, a lot of people I think would want to see Marco and Jungle Jack, whatever they're calling him, a boy and a smaller boy, right?
It's Luchasaurus. It's a boy and his dinosaur, and now his Babysaurus.
Babysaurus. Okay.
So they can pretty much stick with the boy and his dinosaur name, even if Luchasaurus isn't there. Although apparently his injury isn't too severe. He should be back in a month.
Yeah, he had like a mild hamstring tear. Thankfully, not a full tear. Probably like a partial tear. Yeah, those are painful.
That's definitely sucked, but
yeah,
I'm excited to see Marco wear the mask.
Yeah, and then we may see a women's title defense. Riho going up against somebody.
So Riho should be at that show. Her Stardom schedule should allow it.
We could see another Joshi. We could see Hikaru Shida.
I think Hikaru Shida is pretty likely, for this next month. Because she finally wrapped up all her Japan commitments on the 15th. So once she's pretty much moved in here in the US, she's good to go.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the build up to Full Gear. And we'll be following closely here at the Rudos podcast. And we may do some sort of post Full Gear show. I don't know. I actually have tickets to the New Japan show, which is the same night. I have a scheduling conflict. I don't know what to do.
That's okay, because I'm not actually going to be watching it live either. I actually have a gig that night, so I will be watching it on the next day.
Yeah, probably the same for me. We've talked a lot about New Japan. We talked a lot about AEW. We've already had a great discussion about how much good shit is out there. I want to go to our other weekly award. I'm going to turn it over to Scotty for the Rudo Move of the Week.
Oh, hell yeah. And I mean, honestly, we've got a few weeks without the Rudo Move of the Week. But I think we've got something a little special right now. So Ace Austin, to celebrate his latest biggest win, decided it was time to make a porno. And then it got put on Twitter. So for that Rudo move, we salute you, Ace.
What a way to celebrate winning the Impact X Division Championship, which a lot of people were thinking Tessa Blanchard was going to win that. A lot of people were hoping Tessa Blanchard was win that. Impact swerved us. They swerved us and had Ace Austin win it. And then we get to see the video of Ace Austin's porno movie. And not only that, guys, not only was it a porno movie, it was a cuckolding porno movie.
I mean, he knows how to be on trend.
Steve, why are we seeing cuckolding all over the wrestling world? Do anybody know why?
It's the hot porno topic, so that's just how things work.
I guess. I don't know, man. I didn't realize cuckolding was so popular.
What else can I say? Vince is light years ahead of us.
That's true. That's true, man. Who would have thought we'd all be following a trend set by a crazy 70-something-year-old man?
Everything is cyclical, and at some point the past becomes the future.
Wow, that's deep. Time is a flat circle. Time.
Exactly, my friend.
Time is a flat circle. All right. Well, that is the Rudo move of the week. Congratulations, Ace Austin. And it's actually a perfect segue, Scotty, as you talk about what's old is new once again. We have seen the revival of NWA television with NWA Power.
I heard an interview with Billy Corgan. Oh man, it's probably been 8 or 9 months ago, and they were talking specifically about how he bought the NWA and just kind of how he was thinking about it. And one of the things he talked about was how the big trend in media, right, is like the 24/7 consumption cycle, which if you're listening to this podcast, you're part of it. Thank you. But talking about how pro wrestling is like the perfect form of entertainment for that cycle. And I think they've gone out and created something that's like it is a little retro, but it's also very timely.
I think, going back to my previous point about simplicity, I think they're actually making an entertaining product because they're keeping it pretty simple, right? They are going back to the old NWA territory type formula of, just kind of putting on matches, having guys cut promos about the matches. They're not doing all kinds of crazy storylines. Like, it's really focused on the wrestling, and it works. The throwback aesthetic is pretty cool with the throwback style set and the studio crowd with the ring, and even the way they film the ring kind of at a lower angle than what you typically see with the hard cam nowadays in most wrestling promotions. It's another kind of throwback and nod to that old territory type aesthetic. I think it's interesting. I think they've had some good matches. I really like seeing Eddie Kingston get microphone time. Eddie Kingston's promos were amazing.
Oh my God. Nick Aldis cutting promos are like the highlight of each episode.
Yeah, and who would have thought that Nick Aldis, kind of given what we've seen of him so far, he's not doing a terrible job at really carrying the banner for the NWA.
He's doing a great job, I would even go as far to say.
He's come a long way from Brutus Magnus, the one half of, or it was like a third or something of the British invasion when they had like Nigel McGuinness or whatever, Desmond Wolfe back in TNA, right? He's come a long way from that.
Yeah. But yeah, he's just out there. He's just every week just rocking the nice suits with his nice Jaguar, Camille in tow, just like cutting these fire promos just every week. And it's actually been great and engaging.
Yeah, and
It's like
they've managed to get a few 100,000 viewers per episode, which is pretty good.
a day removed from the third episode, and they're at like 131K views, which is pretty good.
Yeah. Now I have an interesting question. Do you think that there is enough demand out there for the NWA Power show to get picked up by a television network? I'll start with you, Scotty, since you are the territory wrestling fan here. Do you think that there is enough demand out there for NWA to get a weekly show on television?
I'm gonna answer your question with a question. Do we think it is entirely necessary for them to get a cable TV contract? Like, if you're able to drum up enough views and keep your costs down, and you're doing some different stuff,
I mean, I would.
It might not be worth it for them.
Billy Corgan has gone out and said just outright right now that this current model is not currently financially sustainable for them.
Yeah.
So they actually are counting on this picking up momentum and like managing to get some sort of deal out of this.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to think
that I would
that,
say they will be able to figure it out.
You've got to think that the ultimate goal is getting that big fat TV contract. I mean, that is really where the big revenue comes from right now. Look at AEW with the TNT contract, Fox shelling out big money to the bad three-letter company, USA shelling out big money. That's probably where it's the most lucrative revenue stream is going to be for these types of smaller promotions. Maybe not on a top-tier network, but getting something like what MLW has with beIN Sports, right? The TV stations, cable and broadcast, are starved for live events and live content, and so maybe there is some...
Okay, so you said second tier kind of cable networks. I have two suggestions then for our friends with NWA Power. For one, it would be pretty sweet if somehow TBS was able to pick them up, because of where the NWA really made its big name. The other thing, speaking of kind of second tier cable networks, like Billy Corgan's a Chicago guy, maybe there'd be room for them on like WGN or something like that, because that still goes out nationwide.
Yeah, there are.
They do have the subsidiary. Yeah.
Yeah. Steve, what are you thinking? Do you think that there is enough demand for NWA Power to get a weekly TV slot?
No, I don't. Unfortunately, no, I don't. I really don't. I don't know why. I understand money. I get it. But I'm just like, who even watches TV anymore? Really?
That's what I'm saying. I agree with you.
Like, the TV companies are still willing to pay you, so sure. But,
yeah, I say TV when I'm talking about watching AEW, but really what I mean is I have Hulu with live TV. So not really.
Interesting. I think that they could get a deal on a second tier cable network like we've talked about. I mean, we see MLW is on beIN Sports. You've got, Impact's a little bit different because they're actually owned by the TV company. Same with Ring of Honor. So I think that they can get something. I don't know if it's going to be big enough to keep them financially sustainable for the long term. Maybe. I imagine that Billy Corgan has already sunk a fair amount of cash in that, given that he's pretty much footing the bill entirely for this studio show, right? Because they would have had to eat all of those costs in order to produce it. Now, I don't think that their production costs would be terribly high if they're going to kind of stick with the studio TV show model. Or are they going to look at doing like a pay-per-view or something? Like, we're still kind of remains to be seen. But I think that there's enough demand to get them on a second-tier cable network. And, obviously it's not going to be something that's going to give them a huge payday right away like AEW got. But I think Billy may make a little money back on it. We'll see.
Yeah, for my parts, I think a lot of it is going to depend on how this Wednesday Night War is going to pan out, and we're not really going to see that really for another 3-4 months.
Yeah, for the long term ratings trend,
Yeah.
right? The long term ratings trend to come out.
Yeah, like right now, these first 3 weeks, there have been drops. I don't think AEW is particularly panicked about them because you were always going to get the first week drop, and probably a little bit after that. They did sort of sustain the same number of viewers on TNT for week 3, but they did have the True TV simulcast on week 2. So you have to factor that in.
Yeah.
Now, this week is like, you can throw ratings right out the window because you had Game 2 of the World Series. You had NBA debuting, so we're probably going to see like maybe 800K at best.
Yeah, I would.
But I mean,
They'd probably be happy. AEW, I think, would certainly be happy with anything above 500K at this point, right? I mean, that was kind of
Turner would be happy, but AEW really wants to be at least around $1 million because they're making money off of the ad share. So the more people who are seeing those ads, the more money they're making.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah. So we'll see. Like you said, we'll keep an eye out on the ratings the next 3 to 4 months and really track how this is going. I mean, we've got so much wrestling coming up. There's so much wrestling we didn't even get to talk about tonight, right? We triple A with the Heroes.
Triple A.
Yeah. The La Parca injury, the AAA La Parca injury. CMLL has their Dia de los Muertos show coming up. Ring of Honor had everything. I mean, I cut a little episode on the Rouge Dragon Lee exodus from CMLL before I left on vacation, but we haven't even gotten into Ring of Honor. There's just so much out there, and we'll just have to keep an eye on it. It's been a blast coming back. I'm still jet lagged. I'm still tired as hell, but man, I do love being back and love talking wrestling with all you guys. It has been a blast. It's always a blast.
Dude, I am still so fucking pumped.
I don't think I've ever heard you as pumped as you have been tonight, Ryan.
Honestly, Ryan, you are really fucking pumped.
You are like the tag team partner coming in off the hot tag like a house of fire.
Ryan is Orange Cassidy in those instances where he has to get serious.
When Orange Cassidy has to turn it on.
Like half the time I'm just sitting there just sort of like
hands in pockets.
Yeah, exactly. But then you get me really pumped and I'm just going to fucking go.
Yeah.
And brother, that Dynamite show tonight, that got me fucking pumped.
That's the point, man. That's how you know they're doing their job, right?
Yeah.
When you're excited, when when you can watch a wrestling show and be excited about it for hours afterwards, and you can't wait until next week to see the next episode, that right there is the best indicator of success, right?
100% agreed.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ryan.
It's been a pleasure as always.
Steve, thanks for joining us, buddy.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Steve's doing the Orange Cassidy right now.
Fucking got me. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
You
Get
get me.
his orange juice.
No better reason to rush home from work.
And Scotty, my man, glad you're back from Europe.
And I say au revoir to all of our Rudo listeners out there. Thank you very much again, Jay.
Thank you, Scotty. Rudo Nation, thank you for listening. It has been a blast. It's always a blast talking wrestling. Follow us at Rudo's Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. rudospodcast.co. You can find all of our episodes there. Also on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher. I don't know. It's on everything. It's everywhere.
We are where your ears are.
Rudo Nation is worldwide, man. Rudo Nation knows no boundaries, no borders. Rudo Nation everywhere. We have Rudo Nation people checking in from Japan, people checking in from Mexico, all over. From Canada, our host Steve. Rudo Nation is worldwide. And make sure you represent Rudo Nation by getting some of that sweet Rudo's merch. ProWrestlingTees.com/Rudo's Podcast to get that sweet Rudo's merch. Check us out. Follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Rudo's Podcast, and our YouTube channel. Go search for Rudo's Podcast on YouTube. We're putting up some travel videos on YouTube. We're going to be probably doing some live streams on Twitch and YouTube, so follow us, check it out, get notified when we're going live and talking wrestling live. Thank you very much, Rudo Nation. I'm Jay.
And this is Scotty No Belt.
Stay Rudo, my friends. Quédese Rudo, amigos.